Hi, my name is Tobias Wiedmer. I'm lead colorist at CineChromatix in Berlin. So now I want to have a look at three different light sources just to compare how they can be aligned in grading. And this one is shot with a normal HMI daylight light source. This one is the Roscoe Lumiere LED panel. Then we have the sky panel from ARRI, the S360, and the Aladdin fabric light. What we see now is this one is log C without any grading on it. And already in the log C you can see that the skin tones differ slightly from panel to panel. So this one is our reference, the HMI, and we have a slight more greenish tint here in the Roscoe Lumiere, then more yellowish tint in the sky panel, and a really reddish tint in the skin tones in the Aladdin panel. So I switch on grading and color management. And what we have on these shots, just to explain the pipeline, there's just on every shot the same one light grading. It has just a little bit of primary grading, a little bit saturation, a little bit lift and gain, offset, so nothing too fancy. And when we want to match those panels to the HMI base, what I did is I matched at first the gray ramp. I do use this gray patch to match the white balance. When I did it, the Roscoe Lumiere looks like this. So we get rid of the greenish tint, and we also correct for exposure a bit. And now we see gray tones match quite well, but skin looks a little bit too magenta-ish. So we would have to take care for that a little bit. Now we do the same with the sky panel. I switch on my matching layer. It's not too bad. What we see here is that the background is getting a lot of bluer than in the HMI base. Means our matching had to correct a lot to the blue direction to match the foreground, but looks not so bad after the matching, and it's just a simple offset match. Nothing with like a matrix or a 3D LUT. It's pretty easy to achieve. And with the Aladdin fabric light, when we switch on the match, see that skin tone is really magenta-ish. We already noticed it in the log C, but now it becomes much more obvious. And now our look is pretty natural. We don't have any pleasant looking colors achieved by getting rid of the variation in the skin tones. We see all the parts in the skin. We see the reddish cheeks and the more yellowish rest of the skin. So we see the variation. So this kind of natural looks are really critical for different light sources with different CRI ratings. I mean, you could imagine a really bad light source with bad CRI, some fluorescent lighting, for example, with greenish cast, where you don't have a lot of spectral information. You will never get a really natural looking skin tone when you compare it to a proper light with a really good spectrum. So this is fluorescent light is a really extreme example. This one are the mild examples, but it's the same analogy. So in order to match this one properly, you would have to key the skin tones and push them a little bit in direction to yellowish. And we also see a little bit of shifting in the exposure here. So I prepared a little exposure correction by a third of a stop. So we have better match for the skin tone. The sky panel, what we can see compared to the HMI source is that the red is really popping out now after our match. So this one is our match. And if you take a look at the lips, they're really saturated. Skin tone look not so bad, but we have to take care for some gamut issues. We also notice that that green is more saturated now. So we will probably have to desaturate a bit, or maybe find a matrix transform which works well for this kind of case. So for now, I just take simple desaturation, but only in the skin and in the reddish parts. Just will find another color for my matte. So it's still a bit too saturated, so I'll get rid of the red a bit more. Yeah, maybe something like that. And the green is another topic. But we can also, if we would elaborate a bit more, we could find a matrix which gives perfect match already without keying all colors separately. So yeah, and of course if we have a problem with the background, that would be a real issue here. Keying it, okay, we could key it. I mean, if it's a scene in a movie and we have to match it, there's always ways of doing it. Sometimes it involves rotoscoping. In this case, I could probably get away with a simple keyer and a little bit of white balancing just in the background. Yeah, a little bit more green and yellow parts. So, something like that. It's too much. So I will name the layer background. Oops. This was my red layer. Okay. And now we have this guy here, Aladdin. Well, here is you see a real issue in the skin tones. This is probably harder to fix. I mean, first thing I would lower the exposure a bit. So I use my prime light shader, which is something similar like base grade in base light. Yeah, I mean, gray parts match quite well already, but skin tone is completely too magenta. And saturation is not so bad in the gamut. Colors match quite okay. So main thing is skin tone, I guess. But I'm pretty curious if I am able to get the skin tone as good as in the other shots. So maybe there's something missing in the spectrum. Let's see what I can achieve. Don't take the lips with us. So we have a skin tone here. I'll get rid of some reddish parts by changing the white balance. And it's not too bad. I wouldn't have expected it that easy. I mean, it's still keying colors, but it's not too bad. So now we achieved a pretty good match for all these light sources with a pretty natural look. So now we try it with a more stylish look. I prepared something which involves a channel mixer and a Fuji emulation. And as soon as you start with film emulation, you will lose some variation in the skin tones, because film emulation is designed to make the skin look really pleasant. So without see more subtle details, reddish parts, and this normal skin tone, the more yellowish parts, and with the stylized look, it all is evened out a bit more. So differences between the light sources will become less obvious. So I just activate this stylized look on all the light sources, and it's already pretty well aligned. I mean, if we now get rid of our skin tone adjustments and the red adjustment here and the background adjustment, and here the skin adjustment, it is not so bad as without the stylized look. I mean, here you see already skin tone adjustment helps, but if you really don't pay too much attention, it will probably feel more matched than in this more natural look. Okay, that's all for this session. Thank you.